to hear it. I know it. I've heard it. It's important for you to hear that. And then, why are they here? Why? You say, no, they're going to church here today. And I don't mean that. Why are they at this church? Does this happen, or is this what God wants? It's important. And then after they give their testimony, they're going to sing for us. And they didn't ask me to sing with them. Very, very offended about that today. I'll get into the sermon, but I just want to say I love this couple. And I love them very much. And they're such a blessing to our church, but to me personally. And I appreciate you guys this morning. You come take all my preaching time. All right.
God is so good. So very good. He's powerful. He's righteous. He's holy. He's just.
Amen.
And he loves me. Amen. So much mercy, so much grace. I failed him so many times, and he still loves me, and he won't ever love me any less.
Amen.
Most of you know me. I'm Lora Vaughn, my wonderful husband. And my parents are here, Ted and Lorraine, and my brother, Danny. I claim them. And thank you to my in-laws for coming, and one of William's friends that he grew up with. Thank you for coming. A little bit about me. I was raised in a Christian home. My dad got saved when I was a year and a half. Is that right, Dad? I don't know. I was really little. I don't remember it. And ever since then, I've been in church. Nursery, Sunday school, junior church, Wednesday night programs, all of it. I was there. And I prayed a salvation prayer when I was very little, and I don't really remember it. I had a problem, though. A little bit of a problem. Some of you might relate to this. Some of you are like, huh. But I was a little bit of a goody two-shoes. I wanted to please everybody, especially my teachers, my peers, not so much, but my teachers, I definitely wanted to please them. And the Bible calls this kind of an attitude of, I must be right. It calls it being self-righteous. And I went through my childhood, through my teenage years, very much like I must be good enough in my own power. And when I was a teenager, 15, 16 years old, I started questioning. And I would have conversations with myself. They would go like this, Lora, you know you're not saved. And I would say to myself back, but, what if I am? You can't say I'm not. I'm a good girl. Everybody else knows I'm saved. And finally, it was like, if everybody else knows I'm saved and I die and I can't go to heaven and I end up in a place called hell because everybody else knew that I was saved and I wasn't, that's not worth it.
That's right.
So finally I was in a conference, June 19th, 2009, 16 years old, and I decided it didn't matter that I was the piano player, it didn't matter that I was in the youth group, it didn't matter that I attended every service, it didn't matter that I had led people to the Lord. None of that mattered. I needed to put aside my self-righteousness and accept Jesus Christ as my Savior. I got baptized the next week. I was a little embarrassed because everybody knew I was saved. But my church was so gracious. They were so happy for me. And I wanted to tell a little bit of story when I was at that conference, and I decided to go tug on my youth pastor's coat, like, hey, I need to get saved. And he took me to a lady worker, and she talked to me, and I was still trying to put my self-righteousness into salvation. I was trying to have enough faith to be good enough in my faith, because I knew it wasn't by works. I knew it wasn't by going to church. I knew all the Bible verses, but I was trying to have enough faith in and of myself. And the lady, she took a while, but it was like, Lora, stop thinking about yourself. Stop thinking about your faith. Think about God. Is he big enough to save you? Is he strong enough to save you? Is he capable? And of course, I was like, of course he is. I'm not questioning God. Of course he can do that. I said, what does this verse say? If you call on him, he will save you. Is that true? Well, yeah. Did you call on him? Oh. It had nothing to do with me or my faith being good enough. It was all about God.
Amen.
God is big enough. So fast forward till now, this week, this month, this year, maybe a little bit today, I still have that problem. I still want to be self-righteous. I still want to be good enough on my own. I want to be a good enough person, a good enough Christian, a good enough wife, a good enough assistant pastor's wife, like job. And it makes me scared, like, oh no, I'm not going to be good enough. I love these people, I'm going to let them down. And as I was preparing this testimony today, it dawned on me. Is God big enough? Is he strong enough? Is he capable enough? Does he want to help me? Have I called on him? So my challenge to you, if you're like me, a little bit of a goody two-shoes trying to be good enough, not all of you will be, but some of you, start thinking about God instead of about yourself.
Amen.
Is he big enough? Is he strong enough? Is he capable? Does he want to help you? Of course. Have you called on him? And my prayer request to you is that if you think of me, think and pray for me that I will remember that God is big enough, strong enough, capable enough, that he wants to save me, he wants to help me in my day-to-day task, and that I would remember to call on him.
Thank you, Lord. I do want to share with you when Pastor asked us to give our testimonies. My wife had the rational, normal reaction. What am I going to say? And so she's got notes here. I don't have notes. The pastor asked me. I wasn't nervous. I was just excited because I really have such a burden for what I want to share with you. I grew up in church. My family's here. My mother led me to the Lord. But I want to talk to you a little bit about my life before salvation. I was thinking about this morning, Brother Gary. You talked about that so many people gave you the gospel before you got saved, and that's my testimony. So many people gave me the gospel before I was saved. You might say, were you saved later in life? No. As a teenager? No. Well, no. I was saved at 4 years of age, and you might say, well, what did you ever do wrong at 4 years of age? Well, my parents probably remember more than I do, but I remember being convicted of wrong. I remember being at dinner, and I had watched a cartoon, which of course cartoons are these great examples of godly behavior and how you should treat your family. And my dad said something. I think he told me to be quiet or to settle down, or maybe like actually eat my food at dinner. And I responded with a quote, I think from Daffy Duck, and it was very respectful and reverent and appreciative. No, it wasn't. And I knew I was wrong. I was convicted. And before my mother led me to the Lord, I was in the nursery. I was in Sunday school. I remember being in junior church. For the Jim and Stacy, well, they're already downstairs. I was thinking I was going to talk to them. I'll have to tell them later. But I remember receiving the gospel. I remember receiving the gospel from Sunday school teachers. And when I think about my testimony, I had so many people trying to reach me at so many different stages of my life. So many people earnestly concerned about me, praying for me.
That's right.
And I want to have the burden to give that back from what's been given to me. You notice I get the privilege to sing in the choir. We'll sing a song after this. Music is what finally made things fit for me. To you Sunday school teachers, you think like, oh, I'm going to give another invitation. We're going to talk about the plan of salvation one more time. Well, yeah, that's important. Please do that. Because one of those times is going to be that time when that little kid that will not behave, and you might think that I was just the perfect child. Don't come talk to my parents. I remember just thinking about people who had influence on my life. I remember an Air Force sergeant pulling me out of the Wednesday night kids program, asking me what my problem was. In retrospect, I don't know what my problem was, but if I was him, I probably wouldn't have been gracious. I'm not sure he was really gracious, but he got me to behave. Anyway, my mom was playing a song at home, and she was playing the song, One Door and Only One, and Yet Its Sides Are Two, talking about Jesus being on the outside of our hearts, knocking on our door. And that's what prompted me to ask, well, why is Jesus on the outside? Doesn't seem like that's a place that would leave anybody else on the outside if they were knocking on my door. And that's what led me to ask, to finally be ready. And those of you who have children, you have to be careful not to tell them too early. And my parents waited, and after I was saved, I don't remember this, but my parents told me that the pastor grilled me, are you really saved? I do remember getting baptized. It involved a milk crate because I wasn't tall enough otherwise. And I was in Sunday school. I was in junior church. I was in youth group. I was in Patch the Pirate. I was, sometimes let's hope at least sometimes I was a good kid. Sometimes I was the obnoxious kid. Sometimes now that I'm thinking about it, I was probably more of a, I was probably a pretty bad kid. But these people continue to invest and believe in me. And when I came here 2.5 years ago, it was after a rough period in my life, and I came and I talked to our pastor, and he was talking about his heart for ministry and what was happening here at the church. I was just kind of suspicious because I had some problems with previous pastors, and I had some issues with previous people, and I thought, okay, well, this is what he's saying, and is this what he's going to do? This church, they welcomed me the first Sunday that I was here. Is this who they really are, or are they putting it on? And I have come to find that our pastor is the real deal.
Amen.
And he has been an incredible blessing to
Amen.
my wife and I. I have found all of you to be the real deal. You have a real heart.
Amen.
Some of you are real crazy sometimes. But there's an earnestness, a concern for the things of God, for what really matters for people. And when we're here, sometimes, we make mistakes. I've had to apologize to people. People have to apologize to me, but we're here to serve the Lord. And that's what Lora and I are here to do. We've been given so much, and we want to give that back. We want to serve. We want to serve the Lord. We want to assist our pastor, and we want to be a blessing to each and every one of you. All those times I tormented my Sunday school class teacher, I'm going to try to make it up by being help. I get the opportunity to teach our summer children's program. I get the opportunity to teach junior church once a month. And many of the people who have been an influence on my life have gone on to be with the Lord. But having been given so much, I want to be that person who passes it on to the next generation. Like I said, we're about to sing a song. My wife and I do a lot for the music. My wife does a lot of the legwork. I've explained to you the technical details, but they're very technical and they're very boring and they're a lot of work, and she does them for me. And so thank you, Laura. We have the opportunity to help our pastor organize things as the church grows. There's a lot more extra work to do, more paperwork and more bills, more things to that. And I've had the privilege to help our treasurer, to help our pastor. I want to take that burden from him so that he can give himself more to prayer, more to the Bible, more to loving on you, and less to, why is this computer not working? Or what am I supposed to do with this form that the city sent us? What does this even mean? And I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to being able to help Pioneer Baptist Church and help our pastor as we continue to grow, and as God blesses us so very much.
Amen.
Each turn is so uncertain, I learn to walk by faith.
But you gave me a promise that you would never leave. You will lead and guide me, oh Lord, I do believe. Lead me, Lord, I will follow. Lead me, Lord, I will go. You have called me, I will answer. Lead me, Lord, I will go. Your plans for me are perfect. I never need to fear. For though at times I feel alone, I know that you are near. My heart just wants to follow. I'm willing to obey. Take my hand and lead me. I'll follow all the way. Lead me, Lord, I will follow. Lead me, Lord, I will go. You have called me, I will answer. Lead me, Lord, I will go. Lead me, Lord, I will follow. Lead me, Lord, I will go. You have called me, I will answer. Lead me, Lord, I will go. You have called me, I will answer. Lead me, Lord, I will
All God's people said, amen and amen.